Okay. Currently washing dishes and using a lot of money for prop firm challenges don't mix very well when the going gets tough in day trading. And so I should have plenty of time to study up on trading until I get paid the next time around, which is 2 weeks from today. So about 2 weeks from today, that's the reality. Okay. So now what I need to do is I need to look at the entry. When I look at this situation, I mean, I'm looking at this, but where do I get in? Where do I get in? How do I get in? I don't know. So when I look at this situation, where do I get in? So I want to take a look at this, which is essentially if I were to draw it out, I used to be a good drawer. So when I look at this, it looks like this, and then drops a little bit, and then like that, and then it drops, and then does this, goes back, drops just like that, okay? So that's what I have. So let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so when I get into, let's say I am here. I am here before these events occurred, okay? Let's say I'm right here. Okay, before anything unfolded. Okay, so that's the situation right there. So I'm looking at this. It's going sideways. It's going sideways initially. I'm looking at it. So if I'm here and all this is like hidden so far. So what do I enter, or how do I look at this? How do I engage this? How do I how do I know that it's going to go in this direction? I see briefly that if I draw a little line based on this setting here, initially initially the trend uh, initially the trend is going this way. Okay, from here, from this vantage point, it is going this way. So I'm thinking about shorting based on that, and so based on this information, it's tough to tell. So when it drops, and I'm thinking, okay, so I should get into it because it fell here, but that would be incorrect because if I get in here, it's going to dip a little bit and bounce back and essentially take out my stop loss. Essentially, that's what it would do, right? So if I were to look at this in here, I'm thinking I'm gonna take a short here because I don't see this yet. So it pops up, takes out my stop loss, and then does this again, and then starts dropping back. So that's the fear that I have, the fear component of how the trade manifests. So the idea, it looks like I have to have certain pullback criterias to say that, okay, so what do I gauge the pullback to be when it goes back? I mean, what is the limiting factor, which is essentially I have to look at what the resistance is. That's where I have to put my stop loss, essentially. So this is going to be where the stop loss is. Okay. So I have to figure out where that resistance is in order for me to set my stop loss. I'm taking this thing very, very seriously. I'll tell you what. So this is the stop loss that I would need to set to be clear of this instance. If it goes beyond that, then maybe it's going up. That's the reality of the situation. It may be too early to take this trade. But if I look here, it's 1, 2. So look here, 1, 2. That seems to be I mean, that looks like a double top, doesn't it? Double top right there. And then as soon as, because this development here is essentially very close to essentially a essentially it's essentially a trading range here. It's close to a trading range. That's essentially a trading range here. And so a breakout here is possible when it breaks out, but it is possible to be faked out like that. And so I need to put, if it breaks out, then I need to put something here that allows me to absorb the bounce back. But truly, if it is, sometimes what it'll do is it'll dip and then just go climb back up like that. I've seen it before. So sometimes what it will do is it'll bounce back and then does this. So I've seen that before. Okay, I've seen this before. Sometimes it does that. But the premise is, in most cases, what I need to do is look at it and substantiate the fact that it's going to follow. In most cases, that's how it's going to be. And I have to try to trade accordingly. So had I gotten in here, I would have had to absorb these double tops and then wait for it to drop. And then what I need to do is I need to look at this. So this would be resistance. I need to understand where that resistance is. Then I know that what happens is here is going to be where here is going to be where a support is. Support right there. So that's where the support is. Okay. So I would, based on the previous data here, looking back for this information. So I'm looking at the information to figure out what that resistance is. And I'm also looking back to see where the support is. So that when I enter and I look at it, I need to understand that I can get out of this situation without a major pullback. A major pullback that could erase all the gains that I have. And if it keeps going down like that, with a minimal intrusion into the profit, then it is possible to make a decent amount of gain beyond that, right? That's how it works. So that's where the support is, resistance is, and I'm right here looking into it. So the entry point here, the entry point would have been at this point here, point A. So that would be the entry point right there. Or it could be at a point where it drops below here. That would be the next entry point right there. Okay. So I would be entering right here, where essentially it broke below here and to enter here to drop it down. So those are the two entry points that I can look at. The exit point is looking to see what happens here, and when it pulls back, that would be the exit point. So it will be the exit point past the point where it reflected and came back. If it doesn't reflect and keeps going, then fine. Right? So that would be the exit point. So this will be the entry points. So these are the entries. And then this will be the exit. Right here. That's the point of exit right there. Okay, so that's how I would handle this is how I would handle a trade. So now I've been thinking about like doing it two things when I entered this trade. Initially to get the ball rolling, which is I know that in between from here to here, I could be looking for two ways of making the trade. The first is after I enter, I'm looking for this guy right there. That's one. I'm looking for this one. Then I'm also looking for another one, which is essentially a scalping to get to this guy right there. So I'm looking for two things. So I enter with I enter with a small double lot, double initial entry. Okay, and then when the scalp number hits, take off the second trade and allow the first trade to continue. Okay, that's a standard procedure that I'm going to be using. This is a standard. This is the exact standard, and then I will and what I will do is update the stop loss. Okay, so this is the entry. This is the entry, and this is how I'm going to trade it. Okay, this is going to be the blueprint for all other trades. Okay, now if it does this, I'll get stopped out and the trade is over. Okay, the trade is over, and I'll look for something else, look for similar things, and I'll trade it this way. And eventually what's going to happen is that I'm going to make the right trades and it's going to win out because the gains that I have will be significantly bigger than the tight stop loss that I have. That's the entry. This will be de facto blueprint for ongoing trading entries and exit here. That's what it is. I mean, exiting here, exited here, or moving on until I see a major trend reversal, which is if I were to look at this area, if I'm looking at a major trend reversal, I'm looking at something that would be substantial in nature. So if I draw a line here and put it right there, and then look here. So I'm looking for that kind of type of thing with this is higher than this. Okay, that's higher. So that's a major trend reversal here. And that would cause me to unload the second part right here at this point here. That would be the exit here. Okay, that's something that I'm looking at to exit the trade at that moment. Okay. It is possible for me to add to this trade based on what I see here. Based on the strength of this trade, I can elect to add more. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. But initially, this will serve as the blueprint for entry.